Okay, my name is Adelaide Rose Hakenewerth Rhodes, and my birthday is September 24th, 1926,
1926.
and I'm 84 years old.
84 years old. 84 years young.
84 years
84
young.
years young.
Yes.
Okay. Addie, when you grew up, where did you live?
Most of my life I lived in Flint Hill, but we spent 4 years down in Portage when I was from about 18 months to about 5.
Okay. Were you were born there in Portage then?
No, I was born in Flint Hill,
Okay.
right in this area here,
Okay.
about a half mile from where I live right now.
Were you born at home?
Yeah, we were all born at home.
You were all born at home. Do you remember anything about, the women talking about how childbirth was at that point?
Oh yeah, it must have been terrible.
Okay. Did they have midwives?
They had midwives, but Mom had a doctor all the time too. At the last stand, I think they'd visit the doctor maybe once or so, a couple months before the baby was born, and then he'd set a date. I mean, they'd call him when the baby was going to be born. And I think she had quite a time on some of them.
What were your parents' name?
John Hakenewerth and, well, her maiden name too, Lucy Burkamper Hakenewerth. She was a Burkamper, and we got a lot of relatives.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. In this area, you most certainly do.
Yeah.
Okay. So you lived, you were born here in Flint Hill. Then you moved to Portage. Why did they move?
I guess the farm here must have been sold. I don't really remember that. Know that, but my dad rented a farm down there, and he farmed it for 4 years, and then came back to Flint Hill, and we lived on that along the highway there where that Amerigas is up that hill. That's where we lived the rest of the time. And finally, he bought the farm. They bought the farm later, and that was our farm.
Were your parents, were they immigrants or were their parents immigrants?
Their parents were, yeah.
Where were they from?
From my dad's, they all came from Germany. My dad's side and my mother's side too. My dad's side was from Westerfield, Germany or something like that. And my mother was from Prussia, Germany. A lot of Burkampers came over and settled in Monroe, and my dad's folks did too. And that's kind of how they met, I guess, years later.
Okay. What about, now your husband's name was?
Vernon Hugh Rhodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And where was Vernon's family from?
One of his grandmothers came from Switzerland, I think. I guess the Dickover side came from Germany, and his grandfather there, he was born here. So I mean, in the United States. So I don't know just that much about that.
Were his parents immigrants, or were their parents?
Their parents, I guess. I really don't know that.
Okay. In Germany, do you remember, were your grandparents, were they farmers there?
I think so. I think they were all farmers, mostly all farmers. In my time.
Do you know, or did you ever hear them talk about why they came to this country?
No, I read in one of these books though that the ancestors of the Burkampers, they had 7 children, I believe it said, and most of them were boys, and they were all in line to maybe have to go to the war, and they didn't want them to do that, and so the whole family moved over here, and I think that's how they got started in Monroe, and then they had a lot of boys. Their boys got married and had a lot of boys, and that's how come all the Burkampers got started. that's what I heard.
Well, you needed big families in those days.
Yeah. And what kind of surprised me, how those farmers over there all had hired help, and the women had hired help, and I thought, how come they did all that?
You mean in Germany?
No.
Or here?
Yeah, after they got here and stuff like that. That's where my mom worked for somebody by the name of Wade. My dad worked for another family named Wade, and that's how they met, Mom and Dad. And that was in Monroe, so I don't know how they had to have hired help. Because they had big families and big, gardens and what all, I don't know, I guess they needed help.
But farming was hard during those times.
Well, it was, and nobody had the equipment they got now or anything. It had to be terribly hard.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any stories or hearing your mom or your dad's or any of their family members talk about farm life or any of their stories?
I guess I don't. My dad, I might be getting way off the track here, but
No, I doubt it.
my dad was only 6 years old when his dad died, and then Grandma had 8 children, and they kept the farm going with the children. When he was 12 years old, and that he was, farming pretty much and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that had to be really, really, really hard.
Did they have teams of horses or mules, or what
I
did
guess
they do?
they had horses, but I can't say that for sure. I don't know. Just nothing like nowadays.
Mm-hmm. So. That might have been another reason why they went to work for other farmers, was to help make a living for their family,
Sure,
especially if if his dad died early.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that was it. They probably need, all the money they could get in there. Probably not much money at that.
Mm-hmm. She never remarried?
Yes, she did. After 5 years, she remarried, and then she had 2 more children. So she had 10 children total.
10 children.
Yeah. And my dad tells stories about how Grandma they'd make butter and she'd give them each a slice of bread with butter on, the rest they'd sell,
Mm-hmm.
to make enough little money, I guess. And so, I give her credit. She had a hard life, and she did it.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yes.
did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what about your mom's side of the family?
Mom's, let's see. My grandpa was a shoemaker. He made shoes for people in Omaha. They called him Shoemaker Burkamper. And I guess they maybe weren't real poor, but they had a struggle too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why Mom worked out too, to help out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Mom never did say too much about anything, so I really don't know too much about that.
Well, people were really busy trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm. When you were a little girl, did you have to help?
Well, yeah, we helped. We helped, had our jobs, and we all helped out. We had a lot of fun too.
Yeah, what was your job?
Well, I had to take care of the chickens,
Mm-hmm.
help with the dishes, make the beds upstairs, stuff like that. Sometimes I didn't do such a good job at it, but
Did you get in trouble?
yeah, sometimes. My job was to every evening I'd carry in wood and stuff like that, and I had to get the corn cobs or the chips for start the fire. And lots of times over the weekend I'd forget it, and I got caught heck then. Mom didn't have nothing to start the fire with, but she didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say corn cobs, you starting with corn cobs, the fire, or chips. What kind of chips are we talking about?
Wood chips. Where they chop wood and have the little chips there, yeah.
So you heated with wood?
Uh-huh. And Mom used to take a couple corn cobs and stick them in a can that had coal oil in it, and they'd be all saturated with coal oil, and that would start the fire real good, and she'd get that fire going real fast in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't so funny when I didn't get them in. At least I felt it.
Did your mom and dad ever tell you about their courtship?
No, my dad used to say things like he found the prettiest girl in Old Monroe and things like that. And they just things like that. He never did say anything more much.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got married, they had a double wedding. His brother and his wife, his girlfriend or whatever, they had a double wedding. And years ago when they had weddings for the men in the family that I guess who belonged to the bride would go out with, they'd ride horses and they'd have a big pole with ribbons on it. And that's the way they gave whoever's invited to the wedding a ribbon. They'd go over the whole county and give them a ribbon, whoever they wanted to come to their wedding.
I have never heard that before.
I heard that, and somewhere I saw a picture of it, but I don't think I have it. But I thought that was kind of neat.
Oh my goodness!
Then they'd get married in the morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they'd celebrate all day. I think they'd lay a dance floor out or something. And they all day long they'd celebrate. By evening, everybody went home, and the wedding was over. I thought that was kind of neat.
That is. I never have heard that before.
If I ever run across that picture, I'll show it to you. But
I'd love to see that.
I don't know where it's at. It seemed like in some book or somewhere, but I don't know where it's at.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. That must have been, okay, so that would have been from your dad's side or your mom's side of the family?
I guess that was from Mom's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was from the whole neighborhood around Monroe, I guess, at that time.
Okay. So it wasn't necessarily like a German tradition or a Austrian tradition or anything like that?
I don't know whose tradition it was, but that's...
Uh-huh.
I wish I had a picture there I would show it
That
to you.
is so neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sure didn't know that.
I thought that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. So when, I didn't even ask you, in the line of 10 children, where are you?
I'm the fourth youngest.
The fourth youngest.
Mm-hmm.
How many brothers and sisters do you have that are still living?
Oh, not many. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
2 brothers and 1 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And originally there were how many boys and how many girls?
There were 5 boys and 4 girls. There was 9 of us in our family.
Now, in your family?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What are some of the memories that you have of growing up?
Oh, we had a lot of fun. We played outside most of the time, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
swinging, and we'd swing as high as we could and jump out of the swing. I was wondering if we didn't break our necks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Mom didn't know that. And I don't know. We played. We played ball, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just made our own games up.
You made your own games up. What about any toys? Or did you have any, or did you have to make them?
We had some toys. We didn't have a whole lot of toys ever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we made a lot of stuff. We really fiddled around a lot making something.
Mm-hmm.
And well, at Christmas time or something, we'd get a little toy maybe, or harmonica, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Do you remember your favorite Christmas toy that you got as you were growing up?
Not really. I got a Shirley Temple doll once. I thought that was real neat.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get a whole lot of toys. We at Christmas time, on Christmas Eve, after our supper was over with, we'd clean up the dishes and we'd set the table again with the plates, all around the table. And then Mom would always have to do something. My dad would take us in the other room and sing. Man, we'd sing every kind of Christmas song. Mom was busy doing something all the time.
Uh-huh.
We didn't know what then.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we'd go in there and our plates would have some little toy on it, like a ball or we usually always got a harmonica. Not that we ever learned how to play very good, but we had fun with it. And then we always had a big bag of oranges. I mean, I still associate oranges and Christmas together. They always say Christmas times when I want oranges. And we had a lot of fun, but we weren't. I don't guess anybody got toys like they do nowadays. Once in a while, we might get a wagon. Seemed like one time we had a wagon where all of us could play with, or maybe a sled or something like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You said something about singing Christmas Christmas songs and things like that. What was your favorite music growing up?
Oh, my dad had a violin, and he wasn't real good at it, but we thought he was great. And yeah, we had a lot of fun listening to him and dancing around or whatever.
Where did he learn how to play the violin?
I guess he learned himself.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't very good at it. He'd always make such movements with his mouth, and we'd all get so tickled and laugh. He didn't like it very much.
When you went to when you socialized as you was growing up, with other, how did you do that?
Oh, neighbors visited a lot. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Neighbors visited a lot. We had neighbors that come over to our house a lot. We'd go to their houses a lot. And that was something they don't do nowadays at all.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot of fun. And if it was summertime, the grown-ups would sit on their front porch or something, and the kids would be out in the side playing drop the handkerchief and tag, and you could see in the moonlight pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. How did the person's house that you go to, Did they furnish all the food, or how did that happen?
Oh, I don't know that we went for food all that much. We just go in the evenings a little while or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that we stayed always for food.
Mm-hmm.
But we did. We had a lot of company at our house because my grandma lived with us towards last, and every weekend somebody'd come in and visit her. And Mom really fixed a lot of food. You know, she put lunch on always for 'em.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we furnished all that.
Mm-hmm. And was it mostly family or the neighbors too?
Well, a lot of the ones that came to visit Grandma, that was family, but the neighbors would come too. We'd sometimes go in a wagon to their house or something. When our car wasn't running, we'd get on a wagon and go to their house, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was fun.
Did you hear them telling any stories?
Well, I can't tell you whether they did or not. I guess they did, but
Mm-hmm.
we were so busy playing, I guess I didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was the best storyteller around. I mean, actually storyteller.
Oh yeah? What kind of stories did
Oh,
he
he'd
tell?
just make them up, you know. We'd say, Pop tells us, in wintertime especially, we'd all be sitting around that stove in the dining room there, and Pop tells a story, and he'd say, okay, and he'd always have the baby, whoever's baby, on his lap, and he used to be smoking his pipe, and he could make the best stories. I tell you, everybody in the house sitting there listening.
Were they scary stories?
No,
Oh.
he'd make us up about. We kids were always involved in the story, like we was doing something or going someplace and visiting Santa Claus and I don't know what all. Yeah, they were really good stories. To this day, I think they're really great.
Mm-hmm. Holiday traditions. What did you what was that centered around? How were they celebrated? Whether it would be a birthday, whether it be Easter, Christmas.
Well, Christmas we always, like I said, we had, Santa Claus came and all that kind of stuff. But on Christmas morning, I remember we didn't always have a car, didn't always run. We had one, but just didn't have money to keep it fixed up. So we'd walk to church. And Christmas morning, sometimes they'd wake it. It was just pitch dark. And, oh boy, I hate to get out of that bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd get dressed and we'd walk to church, all of us, whole family, which was kind of nice after you got woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd have mass, and then we'd come home, and Mom always had real good breakfast on Christmas morning. I don't know whether, I know she made really good coffee cake. I can remember that really well. Coffee cake and I guess sausage and eggs or whatever that was. And Easter time was the same thing. She had a boiled ham then and that good old coffee cake.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that we just went overboard on any other kind of celebrations for any of those days.
Mm-hmm.
And on our birthdays, we usually got a birthday cake, but that would be it.
Mm-hmm. What was your faith like? Your faith life in your family, your traditions?
They had strong faith, a Catholic faith. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught a lot of things that don't hear of anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Things.
What do you remember about learning about your faith as you grew up?
Well, my faith meant a lot to me. It still does, but my faith was really, really meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. How did you see that play out in your family?
I think real well. We had, I think, good.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody really stuck to their faith good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened, because it's not that way anymore.
Yeah. Did they say the rosary together, or did you say morning prayers, evening prayers?
We said morning prayers and evening prayers. Every morning we'd all kneel down together and pray the certain prayers, and then in the evening we did the same thing. They'd always pray a decade of the rosary with it. I don't know that we always so devout with it, but we prayed it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we did. They were very, very, how do I say it? We really did that faithfully.
What, I know that, things happen when you grow up, tragedies, accidents, and things like that, in families, in communities. How did your family, your parents and your family members, how did they respond, to such things?
Well, I know that they really were sad. But what did you do? You just prayed so everything went all right. And what else would you do?
So that's another place where the faith, their strong faith entered into that.
They did, and seemed like we had terrible bad storms, and we'd always get that candle and light that holy candle and pray that rosary, and scared to death, but we always made it through it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any family heirlooms or any family treasures that you still have that maybe belong to either your parents or their parents?
I don't have much of anything. The only thing I'm really proud of is my mom's wedding ring. My dad gave it to her, and the initials are still inside. So it says to LB from JH, I guess. They're really dim, but they're still inside. So
Oh, wow.
I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they didn't keep too much. And if they had fires, they lost a lot, too.
Yeah, they didn't have anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
This is my great-grandmother
Uh-huh.
from my
Wow.
dad's mother.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you something about that they told me. I guess
Okay.
it's true. They lived in Owen Row. My grandma told me this, and some of the other kids don't even remember it. I know she told me. She said when the war was going on.
The First World War?
No, the Civil War.
Oh, the Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay.
And her mother would hear the soldiers coming. Now, I guess it had to be out after the war was over, maybe, I don't know, but she could hear them coming, and she had two little babies, and Grandma told me I was on the way, she was on the way, and she'd run out in the woods and hide until they went past, because I guess they ransacked our homes or who knows what. That was in Omen Row. I guess they rode through there. I don't know.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And I thought that was really something.
Yes, it was. Did you hear, were they the Confederate or the
No,
Union
I don't
soldiers?
know. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because Missouri was one of those borderline states where part of us were Confederate and part of us were Union.
Well, I don't know that. I should know that, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, no matter what, that had to be scary.
Well, that had to be scary, and then just hide in the woods till they left. And then she looks like an Indian, but I don't know
Yes,
if
she does.
I don't know if she was. She could have been, but I don't know.
I was just going to say, you don't know whether she was possibly Indian.
I don't know.
And this is your great-great-grandparent, mother.
Yeah.
Wow. Elizabeth Eusterbrook?
Yes.
And your grandmother Hakenewerth. This was her mother.
Yeah, this is my grandmother's mother. This is my great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother. Oh, my goodness. She looks like she could very well have been.
She looks like it there, but Mary Lou said, oh, well, she was fixed up different. She might not look like that either. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
And who put this together?
Mary Lou got this from my brother. He's putting it all together. They've been going on the internet and getting all
Oh, yeah.
pictures from Germany, stuff,
Uh-huh.
different places in Germany.
Wow. That's wonderful, Addie. Yeah, see, there's a picture here. Here's, this is the area. It's in that northern section. I thought that it was the area that you described to me. That would have been the area that they came from.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that northern area.
There's more maps as far as me studying them. I did, and a lot of writing, which I use all that interested in. My other grandmother on my mother's side, yeah. This is my grandmother. This is my Grandpa Burkhamper's mother. She was my great grandmother on the Burkhamper side. They were butchering, and her clothes caught on fire, and she burnt so bad that she died that same night.
Oh my goodness.
That was bad.
That was bad. But that was part of farm life. And it was dangerous.
Said her clothes was saturated with grease. Well, he didn't wash, like change clothes like they do nowadays or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And she was burnt so bad before they get all the clothes off her. She was burnt so bad that her flesh was off her bones pretty bad.
Oh my goodness.
She died. And her son tried to get her clothes off, and he burnt his hands so bad that he couldn't feed himself alone. This is my grandpa. This is my mom.
Wow.
My Some of my kids look kind of like that.
Well, and that's a blessing in itself. I take that as a real compliment when somebody says to me, "Gee, you look so much like your mom," since I've turned gray.
Gee, you do. You look, your mom is such a nice person.
Was anybody in your family on either side, were they in the service?
My 2 brothers were. They didn't have to go to the war. It was after the war was over.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny and my brother Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
But Edgar was stationed over in Germany for a while, but there wasn't any war anymore. So.
Mm-hmm. Growing up, going to school, what was that like?
Oh, well, we went to school like they do nowadays.
Where did you go to school?
Flint Hill.
Flint Hill?
I went I went only to the 8th grade, but I went all my time there at Flint Hill.
Uh-huh. Was it a public school or a Catholic school?
It was a Catholic school first, and then they didn't have, they couldn't keep up with it. Then it was public school for a few years. Then I went back to a Catholic school again.
Mm-hmm. Did you like school?
Well, some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it pretty well. I always like to stay home, but yeah, I like school.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite subject?
I guess reading. I like reading.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't never too good at arithmetic.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of your teachers?
Yeah, I'd have to do some thinking though, but yeah, I remember. I can't think of their name. Their sister, let's see, what was her name? She used to be at Darden. She used to come to Darden. Later, your sister was Mary Celeste Schaefer. Do you know
Oh,
her?
yes.
She was my teacher for a while, but she wasn't a nun or anything then yet. She was just out of high school, and I think it might have been 3rd or 4th grade, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was real nice.
Mm-hmm. Did Vernon ever talk about growing up and things that happened to him in school?
Oh yeah, he wasn't such a good little angel either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know just what he said anymore, but when he gets to some of his friends, and they talk about that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Where did he grow up at?
At Darden,
At Darden.
He went to school all the time there.
What was, later on when you got older, did you have a boyfriend?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Vernon was my main one, but
Huh?
Vernon was my main boyfriend.
Oh,
yeah.
I know that.
Well, I went out with different ones, nothing real serious, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But
What was courting like?
oh, we usually went out. Lorraine went out with Clarence Self, and I went out with Vernon, and we went out together a lot. We'd go to movies, and then you were automatically just went to anybody's wedding dance. Everybody was invited to any wedding dance around, so we went to a lot of dances. And every dance around, I guess we went to, and we had lots of good times.
Mm-hmm.
And them guys would get together and they'd sing. They had a lot of fun.
What kind of songs did they sing?
That one of them I especially remember right before this all going to go home, and guys will get around and hold each other around the arms, and they sing "Irene Good Night."
Mm-hmm.
And I know they sang that, and sometimes they'd sing all the while in the car.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, you were probably dating during wartime, weren't you?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Some of that was very sad because they'd always have farewell parties for the ones that had to leave, and we'd all go and everybody act like they have a good time, but deep down everybody's a little bit sick about it,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't so great. Vernon had to go. He didn't pass because he always had high blood pressure, but he was gone for I don't know how many days, and every time they take his blood pressure it'd still be high, so they said one more time, and if it's still high he gets sent home, so they sent him home, and they was all tickled that he come in.
How did you feel when he left, though?
I wasn't too serious about him yet, so it
Okay.
didn't worry me just too much yet.
So you weren't married yet?
No.
Uh-huh.
But,
Mhm.
but that wasn't all. There's a lot of sad times there.
Did you lose some of your friends?
There were some, yes, but right now I just can't think who they were. More wasn't really close, so it's very close to him, but
Mhm.
I know him and you'd feel bad about that. Yeah, that was bad.
Mhm. Mhm.
Tony Freeman's brother died, and Harold.
Mhm.
But that was in the Korean War, I think.
Mhm. How did you and Vernon meet?
Oh, we met at Darden when they had this, Ray Griesnauer had this little place down there, Keg Center.
Mhm.
And one Sunday evening, my brother and them went down there a lot, and he said, "We're going to take you and Lorraine down there sometime." So they took us down there one time, and then Vernon and Clarence Sal, you know how you used to dance, and then the girls dance together or something.
Mhm.
The boys come tap you on the shoulder and say, "Can we split you up or something?" So then I danced with Vernon, and she danced with him. And that went on for a while, and then finally asked if they could take us home, and
Mhm.
that's the way it went.
Mhm.
And here I am.
How was the Keg Center? I mean, that was a really drawn place,
Oh
wasn't it?
my, yes, in the wintertime they had one little room where everybody crowded into and danced. They had a Nickelodeon or whatever you call that, played music on that. And in the summertime they had a floor outside, and they'd get different people to play music, and people come all from all around, to have a good time there. That was fun.
Mm-hmm. How did you get there? Was it a car or was it a
Oh
buggy?
yeah,
How
no,
did
we had
you?
a car.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vern's first car was a little Model A Ford. First time we went out, and something caught fire underneath the hood. And he hated us so bad, and he burned his hand trying to get it out. But he got it fixed, and we puddled along for a long time.
Mm-hmm. The Keg Center. Was it just one big room, or?
Well, there was one room, and then the other side was where they sold drinks, and I guess just drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, along the walls they had, see, he was a blacksmith. They had nail kegs along the wall, and they had boards over the top. That was benches for people to sit down along around the wall.
So it was a blacksmith shop first, and then they just added the other thing.
I don't know how that went, but it was kind of a little business place there too. I don't know if his blacksmith shop was outside, or I don't know where that was at.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you remember that? You don't remember Keg Center, but you remember where.
I know where it was.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was right across from the church.
Yeah, it was.
So how long did you and Vernon date before you got married?
Well, I was about 17 when I first met him, but then we didn't go out all the time either. Went out with him a few times, and then we didn't go together for a long time. And then by the time I was about 19, we got very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just about 21. I was 2 weeks after I was 21. 2 weeks after we were married.
Mm-hmm. Did he go and ask for your hand?
Nope.
He didn't. He just asked you, huh?
He just asked me. No, he didn't do that. I guess some people did that. I guess no, he didn't.
Well, you were 21.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you lived in the country all your life.
all my life.
All your life. Okay. As you got older, did you have to go into the fields and help plow?
No, we never did have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We, took care of the gardens and things like that. But women never did have to do that
Mm-hmm.
in our family.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn from your mom?
Oh, Mom was a good cook. She was a good woman.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from her,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad too.
Mm-hmm. Did your mom teach you not only how to cook, but did she teach you how to sew or how to can?
Oh yeah, we helped with all that. We helped with that a lot. Yeah. That Mom worked hard, and we helped right along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sewing, I never was too great at it, but what I learned from her.
Well, you're sure good at it now.
My own way.
All right. So, what was your and Vernon's wedding like? What was that like?
Oh, we got married at 9 o'clock in the morning because that's the way they did it then.
Mm-hmm.
And we got married on on a Wednesday morning because the priest in Flint Hill didn't want anybody to get married on Saturday because he said nobody could hear Mass right the next day if they went out late that night. So all Flint Hill people got married on the middle of the week. So we got married about 9 o'clock. And then we came home and everything was at your home then. You didn't have big receptions at a hall or nothing. So we had just the families on both sides there for like breakfast and maybe just a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that was all over, we went down to St. Charles and had our pictures taken. Everybody had to go down there to bow. I think what was it? Bowies? I can't remember what it was, but everybody had their picture taken down there. And it rained that afternoon, and we needed rain so bad, so everybody was so tickled it just poured down and it really rained. And then there was just a big old shower, and then that evening we had the wedding dance. Well, they had the dinner there at home again too, with the families and maybe a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then that night we went out to the wedding dance, and everybody and whoever wanted to come was invited. We had a big crowd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We had a nice time.
The idea of on Wednesday, that having your wedding on a Wednesday, that's interesting. Some wisdom there. Some wisdom.
Yes. And then that night, so people were also happy because it rained and they could all come to the wedding, and they said you should have got married a lot sooner. Maybe we'd had it rain sooner.
Now, what was the date of your wedding?
September the 10th, 1947.
1947, September the 10th. So how was married life?
Oh, it was fine. Some of it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was hard, but we had a good life together.
Mm-hmm. Where did you live at first?
We lived in that, do you remember that little yellow house that was the end of, like DeHart's Lane there? You remember that little yellow house?
I do. So
Yes.
you still lived in that area. You lived there at DeHart's Lane.
Yeah.
Right there off of Highway N.
Yeah, we lived in that little yellow house for a couple of years, and then Simon Huff, he wanted to ask Vernon if he'd want to farm his place. They were going to build that house there in Darden.
Mm-hmm.
And Vernon had a hard time making up his mind, should he go or should he not go, but it was best we went, and it worked out real good. So
Mm-hmm.
we lived over there for 14 years, and then we bought that slidery place, and we moved right close back there again, and that was it until I'm here. Here I am now.
How many acres did you have back there?
You mean in later years? It was
Yeah.
105 acres.
105 acres. How was farming those first years?
Well, it was fine. As good as anybody's farming was then. They had horses and
Mm-hmm.
I guess they had tractors. I don't remember for sure if they had tractors. Mostly it was with horses, though, I think.
Are
And
those-
yeah, they worked very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
They really did, but everything went along good for them.
What was your day like? Tell me about your day. What was that like?
You mean...
What happened with your day when you, what time did you get up? What did you have to do? What were those chores like that you had to do as being a farmer's wife? What did you do?
What did I do? Well, first years I wasn't all that busy, but after I got a bunch of kids, I was busy.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything, took care of the home and kids and garden. Vern helped with the garden some, but I worked a lot in it, and chickens and all that stuff. I mean, I went from one job to the other all day long.
Mm-hmm. What time did you have to get up to do that, usually?
Well, I don't know exactly. It's kind of varied, I guess, in busy times. You got up earlier, whatever, 6:30, 7 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. We weren't really early birds, I guess.
Did you have to fix his breakfast and then he would go out to the field? Is that...
Yeah, I fixed his. He usually went out and did his chores, and I fixed breakfast, and then we had breakfast, and then from then on, he did whatever had to be done all day long. You know how that went.
What did you raise in that garden?
Oh, everything. Sometimes we had 2 gardens, and sometimes for a while we had 3. And don't ask me why, but we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I canned all summer long.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever was there. I mean, nothing went to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And then wintertime we butchered, and then you canned a lot of that, sausage, all that up too. Yeah, that was hard, a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't have trouble sleeping.
Yeah. Well, what was involved with canning?
Well, whatever's ready in the garden, you brought it in, and my kids helped me a lot, like with green beans or something. We'd sit on the back porch and we'd play every kind of game you could think of to keep them helping you. So, you know, we'd say, let's play initials, and somebody'd say somebody's initial, and everybody had to guess who they were, and then just all silly little things like that. I have to think of all kinds of stuff to keep them happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd help with snapping all those beans. They still talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And after the girls got bigger, then I usually just went down in the basement and did the can. They stayed upstairs, did the dishes and whatever, ironing or whatever had to be done, and I canned.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the year, you had your shelves all full, which was very rewarding work.
Mm-hmm.
You see all that pretty stuff sitting there. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind canning because I didn't like it when I was overworked with it, but just ordinary stuff, I was happy doing it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you make your own sauerkraut?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I loved it.
Stinky stuff.
Yes, it is.
Tell me, do you remember the process of making sauerkraut?
Yes, you'd cut all that cabbage up, and we'd pack it in we had a 5-gallon jar. We'd pack it in there. First, you'd work it all up with salt with it till it was kind of juice kind of come out of it. Then you'd pack it in a jar, real pretty tight, and then you'd put a covering over it like a plate or something that pressed it down, and then a cloth over. Or something over the top of it. And then after a couple of weeks, it started being sour. And, no, that's right. I don't answer it. You just whenever you thought it was, sour enough, then we'd can it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cold packet, so it was, or something, so it was sealed up.
Mm-hmm.
And Vernon loved it. He'd come in all summer long. He'd have a jar in the refrigerator and just eat a saucer full of sauerkraut. Kids all liked it. Stood around and ate some with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of work though. That sauerkraut making.
Did you make your own pickles? Getting back to this butchering thing, what was the process of butchering? How did that all start, and how did you set it up and everything?
Well, I kind of knew how it went about at home, and the first year I helped at Vernon's home butchering. We got married in September, and the first year I never saw such a butchering because they do it all. At home we did about 2 hogs at a time. They did them all at one time, maybe 10 hogs or something, and half the neighborhood would be there helping them. And they'd clean all those casings. We never did do that. We did clean the casings, but not all them big ones. At home we cleaned the little ones.
Mm-hmm.
But at Vernon's home they cleaned all them big ones, and I never saw such going on in my life.
The casings, what was that? That was the
Intestines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They'd even clean the stomachs and put stuff in that. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then for work at it for a couple of days, And some of the women had to cook all the time. When we butchered at our house, when it was my house, I did mostly cooking the first day. I just needed to feed who knows how many men be there, because a couple of tables full of men, and you'd have to have a nice big meal.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had lunch again in the afternoon. And that's about all I did all that first day, and then after that you got down to business and wrapped up. Well, yeah, we didn't have no freezer either, so we canned a lot of the sausage and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always did do that. So
Did they ever smoke any meat?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
smoke it,
Yeah.
salt it down. Really salty sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they not only had to kill the animals, they had to. Did you make blood sausage and things like?
We didn't make much blood sausage. Yeah, Vernon's folks did. I never did like blood sausage. I was like, well, I put that old blood in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we never made blood sausage. We called liver sausage. It was all good.
Mm-hmm.
And the butchering got worse for about 3 or 4 days till you finally got finished with it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then finally, about the 3rd day, you'd have to sugar cure the hams and stuff like that.
What was the process in doing that?
That would cure them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could keep them longer. And they thought they were good, but they were awful salty.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they did that, I just had to. They wanted me out there. I didn't do much, but I had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd wrap it in paper with a mixture of cure on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Well, when the kids came along, did were you able to? Did you go to the doctors? Did you have your children at home, or?
No, I went to the doctor. I went very regularly. Every month I'd go and they were all born in hospitals. Yeah.
They were all born. Where? Which hospital?
First there was a little hospital up there in Warren. It was just for delivering babies. So 3 of mine were born up there. Mary Lou, Billy, and Carol. And then they built a hospital in Troy after that. And the rest of them were all born in Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you lose any children?
Yeah, I lost twins.
You lost twins.
Twin boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 2 miscarriages, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That had to be really hard times.
It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was really, really hard.
Did in comparison now with with the way women go to the doctors, what do you feel was the hardest part of being, of expecting children, of giving birth? What was the hardest part?
Giving birth, I guess.
Giving birth?
Yeah, I was talking about that the other day. I said, now they get those epidurals and they act like it don't hardly hurt them. I think I'm still jealous of that.
You didn't get any of that stuff, huh? No.
Nothing. I just
Yeah.
still here, but it sure was awful.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would like to tell me?
Don't know.
Anything else? Vernon, I know that he played ball. Did he play ball before you got married, or was it like afterwards that?
Vernon didn't belong to the team like Herbert and them did, though. He
Uh-huh.
just went. He just sometimes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Herbert belonged to a team. He went pretty much every Sunday, but Vernon just kind of played for fun, every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the name of the team was?
No, I don't. No.
Where were most of them from? Flint Hill or from Darden area, or where were they from? Most of them.
I guess they're from Darn area. If I could find it, I've got a picture of a whole group of them. If I could find it, I'd show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
That time.
Do you remember who all was on the team?
Well, I think it was Herbert and Tony Dickover and Jim Hankey and Calvin Yeager and Glenn Yon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If I had a picture, I would show you.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the one, Herbert's one, even more so than Vernon's.
Mm-hmm. And where did Vernon usually play?
Just around Darden there when they had a team. And
Mm-hmm.
the last time he played, we was up at my mom's and there was a ball game down at Flint Hill. He went and played and he came back. He was sitting there real quiet. He hurt himself, so he didn't play anymore. He slid into base or something. He hurt his ribs or something.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "We gotta go home." So
How old was he at that point?
he wasn't young anymore. He was, goodness knows, 40, 45 years old maybe. So that about the end of that.
That was the end of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, those guys really loved to play that game.
Oh, they did.
If you had to tell your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, what was the most important person in your life? Or who were the most important people in your life?
Well, I guess I'd have to say my parents and then my husband. That's what I'd say.
Okay. And what did you learn from them?
Oh, I guess I learned a lot. Whatever I know from my parents, I hope they learned me how to be a good woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they tried their best to. They tried their very best to tell us right, right from wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very serious about it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's about all I know to say about that.
Okay. What message do you want to give to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, and those that are going to come in years to come. What do you want? What do you want them to know? What is the thing that you want them to know?
Well, I guess I want them to be good people and honest people. That when anybody talks about them, they know that what they say is not made up or lies or whatever. I think that's what I want to know.
Okay.
Does that sound sensible?
Hey, you know what? It's your story.
My dad used to always say to us kids, he'd say, kids, you all be good. Because if I get to heaven, and when you all die, I want to be there, and I want to be the one who takes hold of your hand and brings you in. He said that all the time. Okay. I don't know if he was always so good or not, but we said okay.
What a vision. You know, what a picture that is.
Well, he said that all the time, so I got that in my head.
And I suspect you'll take that with you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a treasure that is. Did you have any children that were really sick?
Well, they weren't, I guess, deathly sick, but kids get pretty sick sometimes where you do really worry about them.
Mm-hmm.
And St. Gerard was my big helper, so.
Uh-huh. So there again, your faith life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
St. Gerard was my friend. I had so many children, and I still have to talk to him when the grandkids are all expecting babies.
How many boys and how many girls did you have?
I had 8 girls and 2 boys.
8 girls and 2 boys.
Well, then we lost the twins.
And you lost the twins, and they were boys.
But
What are you the most proud of?
my family.
Your family.
They treat me so well. Always did, but they treat me so good now. I'm just like the queen, you know.
It's time to be the queen bee. Mm-hmm.
They do. They just really treat me good.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything, I mean, here you were a farmer's wife and a mother. Is there anything else that you ever wanted to be?
No, I didn't. When I went to school, they'd say, what do you want to be? And I always knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to get married and have a big family.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And I told that to Father Curtin one time, and he says, and the Lord said, okay, little girl. So I got him.
You sure did. You sure did. You did.
I knelt by my bed every night before we got married and said, please let me have a big family.
Uh-huh.
I did. And people think you're nuts, but I did.
Mm-hmm. Well, something tells me, Addie, that you felt a lot of love from your family when you were growing up.
Yes.
And you had lots of brothers and sisters to surround you. And that feels pretty good.
And that's the way life was then. People had big families, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they did. And that's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. But Addie, this has been a pure pleasure.
Well, it was for me too. I hope I answered. Hope I did your things right.
You did wonderful. You did a wonderful, wonderful job. And you're giving your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, all those to come. You're giving, and you're also giving the people of St. Charles County wonderful, wonderful gift.